Cool. I'm here today with Colin McComb, our creative lead, and Tim Sunderland, our composer and audio lead. And we're going to do the first, proper playthrough of one of the early sections of the game, showing the second of the four origin stories that we have ready for everyone. It's the Surveyor, which we'll go into some detail about, and dive into Aldersyde, one of the first locations that you will come across, and it plays an important role throughout the game. And yeah, we've got Colin just kind of talking us through the characters, the quests, some of the decisions and the design decisions, as well as a brief look at some of the reactivity that will be wildly different depending on choices that you make, both in this scene and in later scenes. So cool, hope you enjoy. So, a hired gun and a member of a barter crew kind of speaks for themselves, but Colin, can you just give us like the 2-minute on what is a surveyor and what role do they play in a post-apocalyptic future Australia?
Yeah, sure. So Australia is trying to build itself back up, trying to rebuild civilization, and there's going to be people who are more interested in making sure they know what's going on in the countryside around them. So in the town of Meriden, there's the Surveyors Guild, and they occasionally send out surveyors across the countryside, roaming around, looking for new communities, checking out old communities, and just making sure that nothing new and strange has popped up. Like, for instance, mutated roos or angry wombats.
I'm going to get us started in Bally Hall, which most people have seen by now in other videos or in the screenshots we've got. Here we're going to run through probably the first time that people will have seen the Surveyor being played. And if you're wondering about this very clearly on brand character over here, this is a little look at how we jump and skip through levels and how we test things and how we set variables and so on with the aptly named Red Robot Network that allows us to change game variables, jump around scenes, change the chapter, change the quest, that kind of thing. And this just allows us, if we know that there's, say, a linear portion of the game or something that we're happy with the level of polish, or we're confident enough that an area doesn't need more QA right now, it saves us the time, having to play through it all from the beginning, or set up complex variables like on the fly every single time. This is all handled in Aldersyde Draft, which is the narrative design tool that we've been using. And
although,
yep,
one thing I would like to point out is that this does all presuppose a certain set of variables being set, are essentially what we consider our canon playthrough.
Totally.
Of you're being this kind of character doing these kinds of things. So if you've been a particular asshole to anybody here in Bally Hall, that's not going to be something that gets carried on through the Red Robot Network.
Yeah. So we kind of have to know and can go in and then adjust it, like, hey, I actually want to test what is this scene like if I've done this, or if I've murdered that person, or if I've been a dickhead, or whatever it is. We can just set up another option for that. This can complement a console that allows you to adjust things on the fly, but instead of, if we know we're always going to test the same 5, 10 variables or flags, we set that in a conversation option as opposed to having to type it out or click buttons in a console. Colin, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of murder, we're about to see a murder here, and it's going to be great. The idea behind this bit is that we were talking about various one-shots for our origin stories, and I took the one-shot fairly literally, and we wound up with a merchant who's been shot in the gut once outside of Aldersyde here, as we come to approach this farming community that has fallen off the map, so to speak. We're surveyors. We've been sent down here by the Surveyors Guild in order to find out, if this community is still around, if it's vanished from sight. And these guys, the scouts from Bally Hall, we've seen them before in the hired gun. These are the other two, rather than Ella and Mishti, who went off with the hired gun. This is Jake and Jonesy. They're more the muscle, I guess. They've been hired by the Surveyors Guild to accompany our character down here.
And
that's our background.
Yep, nice, thanks. This is our poor Charlie. He's not good at much, but but he's obviously a very good shot. And he hasn't used his powers for good. He was clearly a little bit twitchy, a little bit nervous, thinking that it's raiders coming to attack the town when it's literally just a merchant.
Some dude walking by here with rags and needles and stuff to sell things. Itinerant scavenger, essentially.
Clearly,
but
a risk.
There were some sheep thieves who had come by Aldersyde, and so he thought they were back. And there's other things that are making the people of Aldersyde twitchy as well, but we're not going to find out about that for a little bit.
Crazy spoilers. Yeah, no, we won't go there. But on something that you mentioned, the sheep and the sheep being stolen, you also spoke about like canon playthroughs and so on. The sheep, you won't necessarily encounter them right now as the Surveyor, but that same story does play out in one of the other origin stories as well. And there is that canon playthrough. Like, these aren't just disparate events that occur to set up the game. Each of the origin stories ties into the overall narrative in varying ways. So,
well, let me add one more thing to that, which is one of the cool things that our narrative lead Leanne has done is she has set up a whole matrix essentially of what happens as the canon stories and what is happening with the other origin stories, because even if you are, playing this origin story character, there's still other origin stories essentially where things are happening beyond what we see on screen.
So here's one of the things that I've been trying to explore with the moral compass is you can do the same action motivated by different things, like the same outcome, and what matters is your intent, or at least what's more telling about your personality or your motives or your morality or your psychology is the why of it. And here we have a moment where Jonesy is asking us, why didn't we put him out of his misery? Like, why didn't we kill the guy? I'll let you, maybe Tim, you could choose what you reckon would be a good reason. We can kind of see how the moral compass will adjust accordingly. All the way from not wanting to waste a bullet to just not caring if it's fast or slow.
Look, I think, you got to save as many resources as you can in this world. So if you don't want to waste a bullet, then don't waste a bullet.
Yeah, now before you click that, I would just like to say this is one of the things that we have chosen deliberately. This is something that allows the player to tell us, the designers, what their character is like. So we get to take this and say, okay, cool, you're not going to be lying about this, we hope. But if you are, it's going to affect your playthrough later on.
Yeah, because we'd have not only the moral compass affected, but also we can have reputation with individual other player characters. Somebody can remember a thing you said in the prelude, the origin story, and throw it in your face 2 hours or 10 hours or 20 hours later.
Must admit, I've had some dialogue come back from the other characters, and I'm like, I feel kind of bad about that decision now.
Yeah, well, Jake and Jonesy are definitely going to remember your choice here.
Yep. Yeah, certainly. Bloody mess, literally, and not the game. All right, so let's head on in. Now, what do you think? Should we chat to poor Charlie about this, or head further into town?
Yeah, well, I mean, the dude's just he shouted at us. We should shout back at him.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can probably be a jerk to him.
Let's thank him for not shooting.
Poor Charlie.
Do you want to be this much of a dickhead to Charlie? Why not?
Oh, why not?
Why not? It's because it's not like he hasn't had enough of it from his family. We can follow up on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. Eat a dog while he's down.
Toughen the hell up. I'm gonna remain silent. Okay. Well, that looks like Jake's feeling nice. Jake's feeling charitable.
For all his hard-bitten exterior, Jake is really a pretty decent guy.
Yeah, totally. This is some really nice wind blowing through the wheat effect. Quite a fan. Okay, so let's run around with You mentioned it's like an agrarian
Yeah.
farming community. Like, tell us a little bit more about what Aldersyde is.
Well, so in the real world, modern day, Aldersyde is basically a small town, I mean, really small, that grew up around essentially a railway head, essentially a station that stopped and loaded stuff onto there from farms around. And they've got this church here, the Pioneer Church, which we have recreated fairly faithfully. The CWA Hall, which is sort of the gathering place. That's yeah, I don't remember what the acronym stands for now.
Country Women's Association, I believe.
That's right. I was going to say something about Australia, but it is association. You're right. Thank you. The Country Western Association of Australia.
That's Tim is the chairman.
Yeah. So this is Franklin Ames. He's as he says, he's the speaker, the alderman of Aldersyde. He thinks he's pretty clever.
So is he essentially like the mayor and the leader? Is he elected?
Yeah. So before you choose this stuff, essentially the people have chosen him, and he's willing to keep on with this job because the other people don't really want to do it. One thing I would point out here is his dialogue with you will change depending on what you did with the merchant out front, and you can justify your actions to him. You can call him out on, murdering the dude. There's, a number of ways you can approach this, but we wanted to get a lot of reactivity in early.
Cool. Had some bad luck. Brings us here. Okay. Have to get our James to work some more of his gesturing animations in over there. But yeah. I do like the subtle changes, like you can see Franklin's looking from person to person.
Yeah. Yeah, now James has done a great job with animating
100%.
These guys.
So he is hinting at things being about to change. Going on. Alright, and now let's get to the actual, what we've been sent here to do. So,
right.
you started mentioning it. Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say, if you wanted to know more about Aldersyde, you could just ask him right here.
And this is all based on...
This is all reality.
Mostly farmers. How's it working out? There we go. Strange and noticeable. There we go. Nice
water crisis. Pretty serious.
I would say. A little scratch of the chin there. A roo with two heads. Love that. Cool. Alright, let's carry on. Now, here's the church. The Pioneer Memorial Church. I think what we can do is we'll show you the real world one as well. Just to illustrate what a great job the artists have done in bringing some of these locations to life and using the actual real world buildings as inspirations and models for the models. Cool. So Nathaniel Black, he's our, I guess, first touch with a religion that seems to be spreading throughout the wasteland now. This wheat belt area of Western Australia. There's quite a lot of churches. There's quite a lot of, I guess, religious carryover from modern times, but the religions themselves have not really persisted.
This was your baby, really, the religion, and I understand that you were basing it off of, at least in part, the works of Spinoza.
Yeah. So the basics of it. I mean, I'll hint at it, and we can. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't have to, dive in super deep, but the getting to chat about philosophy was one of the main selling points for getting me onto this project. You're like, you like philosophy? I have a master's in philosophy. I was like, oh damn, this is gonna be great. So, you threw out some Spinoza here, and
nice.
I always dug the dude. So
cool. Yeah. So look, it's trying to work with something that would be interesting and compatible with the more realistic, we're going for realism within the bounds of the sort of sci-fi or fantasy rules, whatever you want to call it, for a post-apocalyptic world, and something that people would be able to cling to. people turn to religion for varying reasons, and I wanted to come up with a set of beliefs that would make sense for this world, where they wouldn't be battling with the problem of evil. They wouldn't be battling with, how could a good, benevolent, omnipotent God allow for the world to be where it is, and instead something that focuses on what we know and what is real and what we can observe, and the base of this, religion here is influenced by the work of Baruch Spinoza, and the very, very short of it is that it is a materialist religion where God is nature and God is everything, and we are part of nature and we are part of everything. We are star stuff. We were, our bodies were largely made in at least the atoms that make up our body were created in the first few hours after the Big Bang. Leanne can correct me if my timing is off there, but basically
forged in the fires of creation.
There you go. So we were all forged in the fires of creation, and there isn't an appeal to an afterlife. There isn't an appeal to a moral code that rewards you after you die, and it doesn't have to answer questions about why is there suffering, why is this our lot in life, and instead glorifies improving the world around you. They glorify work, and there's a lot more to that we'll find later in the game when we start to hear more and more about this religion and how it seems to be spreading around. So how long has Black been in Aldersyde? How established is this religion in Aldersyde?
He's relatively new, as I recall. He's, maybe a couple of months. He's, sort of out here to make converts, but at the same time, he's not really evangelizing. He's just trying to live by example for them.
Cool.
So we can ask him, for instance, if you say you need any help, he says, yeah, we've got some books missing, so this adds a little side quest for us here as well. And if we ask him if it's a cult or if we can get help from him.
Let's talk about he doesn't really care, he really is not interested. Interesting. The Alderman forbidden. Well, we'll have to dive into that some more. But let's see, if he's willing to absolve and help and give Charlie the support that he needs. But doesn't he's very much about sort yourself out, it seems,
Yeah. So, as a water-based, this religion is based around water, in part because of the drought, and in part because water is changeless and formless, and it fits into a variety of different things. He is going to be using a lot of water-based metaphors.
Cool. Well, also, those metaphors about as useless as he is in terms of being willing to actually help Charlie. So let's have a look elsewhere. So let's see now. We've just picked up a black book. Right, so we're gonna have to look for these three. But let's carry on the main quest. I've got to find the country western of Australia, Tim's building. And while we're there, we can keep a lookout for Charlie's mom.
Yeah. Oh, I think you've got to click on the church there too to clear out the inspect the church thing.
I'll do that. Oh, go. Right, inspect Aldersyde's church. Right. Let's see what.
So the people of Aldersyde are, they're a small but tight-knit community, and they like to take care of themselves. They basically set up walls around their place when the world went to shit, and they were all prepared for people to come fleeing out of Perth, but because they were off the beaten track, they never actually had the influx of refugees. So. they remain a little paranoid, but they're pretty well stocked up.
Self-sufficient.
So, country western hall could look worse.
Cool. All right, so well, that's the CWA hall, and because I've played this game before, I'm aware of who this miserable young lady is, or old lady, I should say. So, tell us a little bit about why, what drove you to make, like, imbue
An awful
someone
character
with this much charisma, Colin?
It's mostly I was inspired by the elderly hive dweller from Planescape Torment, who you may remember as the person who said she didn't give a shit if you're an adventurer.
Yeah, totally.
It was one of the characters who made me laugh hardest. But also because I didn't want everyone to be all friendly and happy and
good.
useful around here. There's gonna be jerks, and
they certainly will.
It turns out
exemplifies that.
Yeah, and it turns out young jerks can grow up into old jerks, and they don't magically become shiny, sparkly old people. So, so here she is providing a real pep talk for her kid.
Do we want to go sarcastic, go straight to the point?
Either way, I think she's gonna give you some sort of shitty comeback.
It was a mistake. I told him often enough. Worth a wet fart. Looks like I was right. He's pretty soft. It is true. Let's let's lean into that. Well, I think it's about time to just say, look, you're a bit awful. Like, yep, proud of it.
Bloody oath. Yep.
Wearing it,
Yeah. I've got to say, I'm pretty happy with some of the Australian I've learned too. Yeah. So.
Well, let's leave her alone, and it doesn't seem like poor Charlie's getting any support whatsoever. Let's see. Report back to Charlie. Okay, so we've spoken to them. Let's go disappoint the guy.
Yeah, there's it doesn't matter if we pick up the books or anything here right now, and there's other secrets in this place that will be, if we poke around some more, we'll find.
I'll have a look at this under construction one.
Can have some words with Ames about it later.
Is this an interactable? We've got something to steal here. Hey, there's a book.
There's a book.
Nice. Take the book, throwing it in your pack. And third missing book. Well, I'm not going to spoil them all. Leave some things to be found. But first, let's go and make this guy's awful life even worse.
Are you going to make it worse? Can you?
Well, he doesn't want to help you, and he can't absolve you. I mean, do it for yourself. You see, the thing is, that's actually good advice. So I'm loath to improve Charlie's lot in any way. If you look down at the moral compass, I'm about as selfish and uncaring in mindset as one could be. That's not to say that, nihilists are necessarily so, or Machiavellians are always going to be acting in a, something that is reductively simplistic in, the Machiavellians stand in for selfishness, and the nihilists are just arseholes. But in this instance, as we're role-playing and as our moral things line up, I'm like, yep, let's not give a shit about Charlie.
This is an ongoing thing as well that we need to keep in mind for ourselves all the time, is that Machiavellian doesn't necessarily mean bad. Nihilist doesn't necessarily mean bad.
It just makes it easier to do bad things, I feel.
Potentially,
within yourself, maybe. Yeah.
Right, because your primary thing is nothing matters, so I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and that can lead you to despair or to selfishness or to uncaringness, but it could also go,
hey, did you tell Charlie what his mom said?
I didn't. I just told him that Black wasn't much help, and he's just got to. He kind of seemed to figure some things out for himself. Let's see, construction happening here. So what's really cool is I have not seen this since Luke, our level designer, worked on it. So this is literally the first time I've seen this, and it's always awesome spending a bit of time, you know, on one scene or heavily QAing one playthrough of a particular origin story, then coming back and seeing that the work the team has done, because this is great. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen it.
In particular, when there's a new animation, it's like, wow, I haven't seen that before. It really brings life to the characters.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, you might want to check the dunny there, the Thunderbox.
Let's do it. Does make sense.
Or for the non-Australian viewers, that would be the outhouse, the porta potty.
Well, there's no response no matter how polite I am. Right, open the door. There's the book. All right. I only consider washing my hands.
No,
very, very nice.
You're the worst kind of person.
Was that for some reason it makes me think of like old Sierra games. I don't know if there was a reference to that or it was unintentional.
Leanne probably, and she did the Black Book bit, so
right,
it definitely intentional.
True, I didn't. Until you said it, Cole, I didn't notice. Yeah.
Right, let's see if we've got anything else we can chat to this guy about. Right. Not much to see. I guess you want to. Anyway, he seems pretty eager to. I've been sent on a whole job, and the Surveyors Guild is super interested, and they've paid for like 2 top-notch scouts, and Franklin seems like pretty keen to get us out of here. You know. I'm not going to push him on that right now. We can save some of that for either a future playthrough or, to not reveal what's going on during the origin stories.
Here he is, jamming his hands into his pockets.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot, Colin. Any other last things you want to say about the Surveyor? What players can expect about the Surveyor later on in the game?
Oh, you'll be, finding all sorts of cool stuff as the Surveyor. That's your special power. And I really don't want to spoil anything, but there are paths you can take that will not be open to other players. And there's a particular Surveyor you get to talk to whose compatriot will wind up with you much later on as well.
G'day, Tim here. Thanks for watching this Aldersyde playthrough with Craig, Colin and myself. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Don't forget to wishlist us on Steam, and stay tuned for more Broken Roads videos. Cheers.